A little bit of historical correction. Um, when did America begin? Did it begin St. Augustine, Florida? The Spanish settled there. Did it begin in 1607 with Jamestown, or did it begin in Plymouth in 1600 and 20? Pilgrims landed, dressed real queer, as John Stewart puts it. The Puritan, or not the Puritans, the Plymouth colony were separatists that wound up dying off and getting absorbed by the later Puritans. The Jamestown could be said to be Puritan, but it didn't mean the same thing as we would think that later on, like with Cotton Mather. But the colony started as sectarian. Is that the beginning of America? No. The beginning of America is 1776. But is that the beginning of the American identity? Maybe, but it grows until we get the Constitution, 1881, or no, 1781, I believe, which is secular government. We see all the bloody war that happened in Europe, Protestant on Protestant, Catholic on Protestant violence, and they said no more. We're not going to do that. We're not going to blend religion and state, and we're not going to have a king. And even because you had all these different places, you had Anglicans and to some degree Catholics in the South, and in the North you had Puritans, and well, what would degrade, or what would be different, various aspects of Baptists, Congregationalists. Those were the two up there. Now this changes inevitably with immigration and different revival movements and stuff like that. As the South expands and the Northwest becomes Ohio and Illinois and Indiana, Wisconsin. And then we get the immigrants, so we get the North being very heavily Catholic, and the South with the advent of Methodists and various other groups, even after the Pentecostal revival of everything. In presidential speeches and formal everything, God really doesn't get mentioned well, it doesn't really get mentioned. One mentioned, not in a specific way. It's the grand architect, and I don't mean that in a Freemason way. I mean that in a quasi-deistic way. And even our term deist has changed. Deist back in the day pretty much meant non-denominational Christian. It was, the word shifts around. Very rapidly, early on, it becomes kind of the deist that we know around the time of Thomas Jefferson. A little bit. And non-denominational Christian today isn't the same thing as what it was. It's more like any Protestant church. Most of the new Protestant churches are basically non-denominational. But people kind of leave each other alone, and they see themselves as American, not sectarian in identity. Europe doesn't get over this for, well, arguably some parts still have this problem today. The fundamentalism in America is new. Now, if we want to retroactively use the word fundamentalist and make it to apply, but make it mean things that it doesn't mean, well then, anybody who believes in God is a fundamentalist. All the Orthodox, all the Roman Catholics, all the Buddhists, all the African animists, the polytheistic ancient Romans, the Confucians, the Taoists, every atheist are all fundamentalists. But if we actually don't just use words as for pomp and circumstance and propaganda and shock value and comedy, then we kind of have to say no, they weren't. Were they sectarian? You betcha. Is that why we said no church and state combined? Exactly, because nobody wanted the other party to control. And therein you can see the good of nationalism. Why is that? Because no conquering other peoples. Even if there's alliances or trade treaties, it's still not imperialism. Now people could take a clip of what I say and say, yeah, I'm for nationalism. And say, oh, see, there's Nazis and this and that. I think I define myself pretty well. Just like it's impossible to say, from me saying I believe in nationalism, to say that I'm against gay marriage and prostitution and drugs, because I'm not. But with pomp and circumstance and comedy and propaganda and things being emotionally charged, people can whip people up into thinking that. The one thing I despise is people putting words in my mouth. Or like that guy calls himself the Archangel Saint Michael. People, to an infuriating degree, having to try to misunderstand me because I have just proven them wrong. And they just wind up embarrassing themselves. Somebody who makes a response video arguing against the Eastern Orthodox Church, and then after I show him he's wrong, he keeps saying I should come to Christianity and keep Islam. Even though he was dealing with me as if I was Eastern Orthodox for a month, and only making videos about that and charging me as being a heretic of Christianity because I'm Eastern Orthodox. And then once I show him that his beliefs don't line up with Catholicism, he goes and says, well, no, you should be baptized in Christianity. And I said, I am. And then just ignoring my words and keep doing that. And I fear that's what's going on now.